over the last few years, Mazda has been moving its product portfolio upscale. We only have to think back to, well, everything that they've introduced over the last 3-4 years, be it a fully revised model or just a mid-cycle refresh. And it seems clear, and Mazda has mentioned it, that this is the case. Mazda wants to explore the upper regions of premium products, and for the most part, they are delivering. Now, whether or not the Mazda brand recognition will follow the product, well, that's a whole other debate. But if you think about it, I mean, the CX-30, the Mazda 3, the CX-9, the CX-5, they're all, say, one notch premium above its or all of their major main competitors. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, even the Mazda MX-5 isn't exactly your affordable run-of-the-mill roadster now, is it? Not that there are that many run-of-the-mill regular roadsters available for sale. Anyhow, that leads me to this. Now, this, in my mind, is going to become the beacon of the brand. This is a 2023 Mazda CX-50. And for all the right reasons, Mazda has put a tremendous amount of effort into creating a vehicle, an SUV in this case, what else, that will turn heads, will be noticed, will be recognized, and possibly even considered as something Mazda plus. I mean, from your point of view right now on screen, you can see that, yeah, it does look like a Mazda product, but somehow it doesn't at the same time. Now, that was done absolutely on purpose. And now for 5, almost 6 days of being with the Mazda CX-50, I mean, it's clear that Mazda has tweaked and turned everything up to the max in order to be considered as a premium automotive automaker. Again, whether or not people consider the brand as being premium is different. But as far as efforts are concerned, as far as making vehicles that could be considered as luxurious or more luxurious or premium, this is definitely a massive step in the right direction. Anyhow, we will do a walk around. I mean, there's a lot to say about this vehicle, and at the same time, not that much. It's kind of interesting because, yes, this does share a lot with the CX-5, but at the same time has a very different and sharper personality. Anyway, we'll walk around and we'll take a look on the inside, and then we'll take it for a drive because that's where it differs from the CX-5, but might not quite be premium enough to be considered as such. Here we go. I continue to be stunned by the 2023 Mazda CX-50's good looks. I mean, it's just, it looks like your run-of-the-mill mid-size SUV that is equipped to go off-roading, you know, with the cladding and all of that. And that's also a muscle truck at the same time. I mean, as we walk around, you'll see, or I'll point out what I'm trying to say. I mean, but as far as visual off-road credentials, I mean, it looks the part. I mean, it's not for nothing, I think, that Mazda had most of the initial press pictures with a roof bar or platform on top of the CX-50. It just made it look so rugged, which I think is what they're trying to sell this at, or as I should say. But when I come around back, and if you look carefully, those faux vents above the rear wheels, they scream Renault 5 Turbo to me. Maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just a little nuts. But see, that's the muscles. It's so flared, it's so fat. Look how narrow the cabin is. I can't do it well. Anyhow, and I mean, the taillights look racy, the tailpipes are big. And then when you come around to the side, I mean, I was going to say this is probably the best look, but it's not actually. It's just everything about it. I mean, I see a long bonnet and a steeply raked windshield, and I'm thinking Range Rover Velar. So there's your premium inspiration. And up front, I mean, it's so bullish. I mean, look at these unnecessarily large plastic faux bumpers, snoutish, whatever, and more massive air intakes and a oversized faux skid plate or bash plate, whatever you want to call it. And this thing is just so good looking. And visually, it rocks. There you go, it rocks. Pricing in the US, the product planners in the US have a very different plan for this, or at least they're going to milk this product as far as possible, because there are no fewer than 9 trims. The base trim is, or base model starts at $26,800 and still very well equipped. In Canada, there are only 3 trims, $37,900 for the base version. At the very top is the GT Turbo, which is what this happens to be, and pricing starts at $45,300 in Canada, $45,350 in Canada, and in the US, $41,550. So you can see that in the US, their base models are far more decontented. Now in Canada, for the base GSL, you're looking at obviously all-wheel drive, the 2.5 naturally aspirated liter 4-cylinder engine, a panoramic sunroof, power liftgate, 10.25-inch touchscreen display, wireless Apple CarPlay, heated front seats and steering wheel. I mean, it's still really, really well equipped for the price. Now, when you step into the GT, so the first trim of the GT still has a naturally aspirated 2.5 and throws in leather, 20-inch wheels, cooled seats, Bose audio, and it retails for $42,850. I guess we're done looking at it. I mean, it's incredible. I can just see some kind of safari all sport, that's right, I said it, all sport version of this next year or the year after. It would be so fitting. It's incredible. Oh yeah, well, I won't lie to you, I use notes because in this case anyway, just for size purposes, okay? This CX-50 is about 20 centimeters longer overall than a CX-5. The wheelbase is about 12 centimeters longer, okay? And it is 77.5 centimeters wider. So you're not losing your mind when you think that this thing looks a lot bigger. But when you get inside, it's not exactly the case. I mean, the power lift gate, when you open it up, good speed, decent speed, reveals 889 liters of trunk space. And that is compared to a CX-5, which is, like I said, not as wide, not as long, as shorter wheelbase. Well, it offers 871 liters of trunk space. So the difference isn't that considerable. I mean, it's got great bins on each side, so that's very functional. Some kinda-ish storage down here, but that's it. So this is not a bigger SUV. What the CX-5 is, however, is a little bit taller. So that may explain why the trunk space is almost the same. And even legroom, front and back, is about the same as the CX-5. So even though the wheelbase is a lot longer, there's more going on. There's more substance to the cabin. But even so, so many words. Plenty of room for the kids. What else can I say? It's very mid-size-ish. You can't squeeze anyone between the 2 seats. But that's that. Okay, so when you get here, so once you get to the GT, you get the leather seats, and the GT Turbo, it's the same interior seating with the power lumbar and the multiple way adjustments. And in true Mazda nature, the materials are really nice. Fit and finish is quite good, and the different surfaces really blend into each other with near perfection for a vehicle that is under $50,000. So let's slide aboard. Okay, starting it up. So even for this, yes, go ahead, sing, yeah, blah, blah, blah. You're done, come on. There we go. Okay, so, thank you. So this is the only digital part of the cluster, which is fine. I mean, it works nicely. You can definitely imagine that there will be a digital IP in the near future. There's the 10.25-inch display, which is still not touch sensitive. Which means that it can be very distracting. Imagine that, working the wheel here to navigate via the various menus. I won't make you sick looking at that, but look, again, in typical Mazda fashion, this is just beautiful. In its simplicity and functionality, The layout is perfect. The only problem is from my driving position, when I turn the heated steering wheel on, I can't see the little lights. I'm never too sure if it's on or off, but you work around that. Again, the fit and finish, it's beautiful. The contrast stitching is lovely. This is very austere, but very premium as well. And visibility as I go around is quite nice. And I just want to end on a few touches. I mean, storage is fine, all of that. This two-part, these things, first time I saw this was in a 7 Series back in the early 2000s. Anyhow, storage is nice. The seats are very comfortable. And, oh yeah, here are your drive modes. What does differ in the GT is the off-road mode. That's right. Okay, drive time. Let's go. Okay, so as mentioned, the CX-50 is powered out of the box in the GSL and GT models by Mazda's well-known naturally aspirated 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. And if you want more, well, the only option you have, essentially the only options at Mazda at this point, is the turbocharged 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, which does suit this SUV's personality to a T. I mean, this, again, it's the same story as with every other time the 2.5T is used in a Mazda product. Out of the box, it's 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. Should you want to spend massive dollars per liter on 93 octane fuel, you will get access to 256 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque from 2,500 RPM. No matter what I do, I just keep getting traffic at this time. In my last few videos is what I'm trying to say. But even on regular, which I'm 99.9% sure it's using now, I mean, this kind of power is really nice in this SUV. Again, suits it wonderfully. It's premium. It's very responsive. Power delivery is linear. There is essentially no dip in power delivery once all that torque kicks in. The only downside to it is that you're not going to average the 9.5 liters per 100 kilometers as specified by Mazda. I'm averaging 10.5, and I won't quite lie and say that I'm trying, because I love the power from this engine, but I'm not being as overly aggressive, I suppose, as I might usually be, mostly because fuel is so darn expensive nowadays. But among other niceties with this powertrain, it's the 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, I kind of flip-flop back and forth between the fact that, you know, it's short 2 gears compared to a lot of its competitors. You can tell because of the fuel consumption penalty and this and that. But I guess it's with the 2.5T, the power band on this thing is so thick and fat and juicy that it's never really lacking for gears or gearing. So no complaints there. And fuel consumption wise, well, when I'm reasonable, it's also kind of reasonable. iActive all-wheel drive is obviously standard in the CX-50. It's part of the premium experience that you will now get with these vehicles, these Mazda SUVs. Because unless I'm mistaken, I think even a CX-3 is delivered as standard with all-wheel drive. What is truly impressive, and is still something that consumers don't quite grasp or haven't quite experienced, is that iActive all-wheel drive is really good. Like, really, really good. Compared to most other typical reactive systems, aka front-wheel drive, send power to the rear when you need it, this one is on, always on. Not necessarily in the sense that all 4 wheels are working all the time, but in the sense that the delay between throttle and measuring the amount of power I want as a driver and sending the power to the rear wheels are enough to prevent wheel spin or even underspin or understeer. Apologies. It's surprising. I mean, it's so reactive it's so, I mean, it's habit forming in the sense that it feels, or makes me feel like I'm invincible. No matter what I'm doing with this, power will always go to the wheels that actually need it without delay or hesitation. And I think my initial reaction when I picked up the CX-50 was, oh my goodness, steering is heavy. And even now, a few hundred kilometers into the drive, I still feel that it's really heavy. And when you give it a little bit of input, I mean, there isn't any real on-center play to speak of. But when you get on the throttle, with a little bit of steering input in, you can feel like the wheels are digging. I mean, 20-inch tires, 245 series, whatever. They're not that beefy by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know. It's so intuitive and it feels so natural that it's surprising, because you don't usually expect this kind of responsiveness from the drivetrain. What else can I say? Brakes feel great. Overall, the impression is that everything is dialed to 11. You know, when you're torquing something, you're tightening it, then you figure, I'll just do a half turn. Mazda does a full turn just to tighten everything to the max. And you can really notice it when you're driving. But all of that emphasis on sharpness, on responsiveness, on immediacy, which I absolutely love, I think may turn away some premium SUV buyers. There is a level of, what's the word, poshness or luxury or quietness or refinement. This thing is refined, by the way. Oh, and the handling is great, but the dampening is a little, it's lacking a little bit. It's not generous enough. There isn't enough wheel travel, and that ties into what I'm trying to say here, is that it's just shy of being really luxurious. It's quite nice, but that essence of Mazda, which I truly love and appreciate, kind of gets in the way, in my mind, of delivering a fully or truly luxurious driving experience. Look, the bottom line is that the CX-50 is wonderful for the driving experience, for the styling, even for the packaging. Oops, that was terrible. For the packaging and the pricing and the equipment, it's superb. I mean, what I want Mazda to do really with this thing is take it in a few different directions with a signature as well as an all sport. Come on guys, all sport. Raise the suspension by 20-25 millimeters. Get a bigger roof rack up there. You know you want to. 18-inch wheels with all-terrain tires. Just do it. And maybe a hybrid powertrain to, lower fuel consumption. Oh my goodness, I keep going on. Happens all the time. Apologies, thank you, goodbye.